Siciliano, Cynthia Freeland, Steve Weich, back from a game yesterday in Cincinnati in the early morning.
MVP right here.
Hello, guys.
Hey,
You made it.
I made it back. I made it back, and I had just an absolutely great game. Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to talk about them in a little bit, but man, that was a fun fourth quarter and overtime.
We have all the actives and inactives, but you know what? Let's do the highlights first.
Let's do it.
When we get to those, let's roll some highlights, everybody. From the game Steve was working sidelines for, a battle of backup quarterbacks, a 2 in Jake Browning against a 4 in Nick Mullins, and this is the touchdown of the year, isn't it?
One of the most incredible
it's got to be.
One of the most incredible plays I've ever seen. And Jake Browning told me after the game, yeah, I just threw it up, but I'm going to call it a trust throw.
But look at that. It's T. Higgins, and that is the Browning family in the Burrow box, and we have fun, and we go to overtime. And in the overtime, does he trust Tyler Boyd on this as well?
Look at this throw, though. Everyone says he's doing it in traffic. That was on point, and you'll see me standing right there in a gray overcoat.
Look at you.
It's a lovely gray overcoat.
What an incredible play to set up the game-winning field.
This after Nick Mullins and the Vikings had gone tush-push that didn't work on 3rd and 4th down near midfield, and gave Evan McPherson a chance to win it, and that is what the Bengals did. They win 27-24 in overtime. Browning said afterwards he needs a beer, and he was mad at the Vikings for the way they cut him off the practice squad at a training camp a couple of years ago. He got his revenge. Gardner Minshew, Mitch Trubisky, another battle of backup quarterbacks. This one was just nuts. Trubisky threw downfield to George Pickens, who got crossed, not Moss. That's Nick Cross, who went up and took it over and off Pickens' head. You see the looks on Najee Harris and Mike Tomlin's faces right there? That's the story of that game.
Go get the ball.
I mean, the Colts rolled them. They lost Zach Moss and Michael Pittman to injuries on which the Steelers were flagged on both plays for personal fouls. But then they rolled them. They ran them, and they got to 8 wins, and the Steelers fell to 7-7. Cynthia, didn't you think this game was going to be closer?
I thought it was going to be much closer, and this one went a long way to make the Colts make the playoffs, so very interesting stuff.
And your Lions, too. I thought that one would be closer.
I was scared that it was going to go entirely the other way, but nope. I'm glad it's done. It feels great to come in here on a Sunday morning and already have the W.
Ross St. Brown may get fined for that, but who cares? He stuck the landing, kind of, sort of. We'll give him the 10, whatever. They were up huge, 21-0, the Lions were. Then they kept pouring it on. Sam Laporta, have a day.
Have a day.
The rookie had 3 touchdowns, and the Lions joined the 10-win club, and a huge loss as well in the AFC playoff picture there for the Denver Broncos, who fall to 7-7 and kind of crash back down to earth. We had 6 teams in the AFC at 7-6 to start the day. The Bengals and Colts joined the Browns in the 8-win club, and right now they are your 3 AFC wildcard teams. In the NFC, the 49ers, with a victory later today, they're already in, can wrap up the NFC West. The Cowboys have a huge game in Buffalo. We are there live later as well today. The Eagles, the Vikings, and the Packers, as it stands now, are your wild card teams. After a fantastic Saturday showdown triple header, Steve Weich, your biggest takeaway from yesterday?
Well, again, it's got to be from that Bengals victory over the Minnesota Vikings. And Jake Browning, I mean, this is a quarterback who's going to be playing at someone's backup next year as well. He continues to put up big numbers. And I talked about the trust throw to T. Higgins. His teammates trust him, and that is why they have a legitimate shot to continue this run and to make a playoff push. And the news today that Ian is reporting that Jamar Chase, the wide receiver, the separated shoulder, not significant, could be back next week. That is huge in keeping this offensive continuity that the Bengals have going. And Zach Taylor, as players keep telling me, being in his bag, dialing up play.
I tell you what, when Joe Burrow got hurt, I said the Bengals were done. I was wrong. They are not close to done, and that game Week 18 against the Browns in Cincinnati looms large. Biggest takeaway for you, Cynthia?
I want to stay with the middle game from yesterday and watching what the Colts did and how it really elevated their chances to make the playoffs. I mean, just so you know, Minnesota, it almost didn't change their impact.
They stayed as the 6th.
It was the same because that's against an AFC team, etc. However, the Colts knocking off the Steelers like this, or maybe not knocking off if they were favored, but that is
smashing.
Smashing, yes. Smashing the Steelers in this way. They're up at about like over 60% odds of making the playoffs. Some things that could happen today would shift that just a little bit more, but I don't know, like they're very for real, and it seems like it's like you're living on Gardner Minshew's arm, which is always a little scary. It could go the other way too, but they get away with a few, and they've gotten away with.
They can win the division.
Yeah,
they could win the AFC
Insane.
South.
they are lingering. They're right behind the Jaguars. That Jacksonville game at home tonight against the Ravens is huge.
Huge.
On NBC. And that team is fun. I'm talking the Colts here. DJ Montgomery dropped a touchdown on 4th down. He comes back. He then later scores a big touchdown right before the half yesterday. I mean, you got pieces from all over the place. Trey Sermon made an appearance.
How about that?
Yes,
That's great.
He didn't just make an appearance.
As well, and playing well. They ran it down the Steelers' throat in the second half. Long list of significant actives and inactives today. We have Aaron Jones up at A.J. Dillon down for the Packers. Devin Achane up for the Dolphins, but Tyreek Hill is down. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport with us now for the latest. I guess Tyreek gave it a go in warm-ups and said, not going to happen today.
Well, I think Tyreek Hill gave it a go in warm-ups, dealing with that ankle injury, did not practice all week. And then the Dolphins said, not today. It did seem like Tyreek Hill, positive body language, flashing a thumbs up to reporters after his workout. Seems like he wanted to go. And if you watch his workout, it looked good. It looked fast. It looked powerful, but it did not look flawless. He looked like he was limping, especially, I wouldn't say during the workout, but really after the workout, he would kind of limp from one thing to another. This was not a player who was 100%. And, you know, this is a Dolphins team that, one, needs to play better without him. I think that was clear against the Tennessee Titans. And two, believes they're going to make a playoff run, is prepping for a playoff run, would help to have maybe the most productive receiver in football on the field. So he does not go today. And the game against the Jets, where I would say, you know, the Dolphins need him, but there's going to be other games where maybe they need him a little more.
And the Jets need a win badly in this game. They have elimination scenarios today, which takes us to our next topic. Aaron Rodgers, 3 weeks. That window to activate him, that comes due, Ian, on Wednesday. What are the Jets going to do?
Those discussions are still going to be had Monday and Tuesday, but here's my understanding of where this all stands. Aaron Rodgers is nearing being cleared. If being cleared basically means he would be able to play in a game. Rodgers pushed it like crazy this week in practice, had no ill effects. That was positive. He is getting to a point, he's progressing to a point where being cleared and playing is theoretically possible. What we don't know is, will he do it? Because if the Jets lose, essentially, they are eliminated. If there's no reason for him to play, if they're not in the playoffs, he's not going to play, will likely not be activated. If they win, and you're saying there's a chance, then you probably will see Aaron Rodgers activated and potentially play. We don't know if he's going to play on the 24th. That was his target. It's unclear if that is still the case. It's going to be close, but at least he will likely be activated and give himself a chance. I know there's some very strong voices in the Jets organization that want to keep him out of harm's way. Aaron Rodgers also has a very strong voice.
That is wild. All right. He might be playing as early as next week. If the Jets are out today. If they lose, and then either the Bills, the Browns, or the Texans win, therefore the Jets would be out. Ian, real quick, what's going on with Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts has been dealing with an illness, was put on the injury report. I believe that was yesterday. So he was struggling some overnight. He is now listed as questionable, going to travel separately from the team to avoid spreading. And we'll see. I mean, I would say almost all players this season who've been dealing with illness, the flu, whatever, have played. But obviously we'll see about his status.
It is the cold and flu season. If he cannot, for some reason, go, Marcus Mariota, who won last year with the Falcons in Seattle, kind of, sort of, another homecoming. But again, we're a long way from that. Thank you, Ian Rappaport, our NFL Network insider. Also a long way from the Cowboys and the Bills. That is a late afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern time, Fox game in Orchard Park. The Cowboys are win and in today. They are one of the 5 teams that can punch their playoff ticket. They can also get in with a Bucs loss, a Falcons loss, or a combination of Rams and Seahawks losses. In other words, the Cowboys may know before they take the field in rainy Buffalo if they are in. Huge game for both teams, the Cowboys and the Bills, as they try to get to 8 wins. Sarah Walsh is there, hopefully dry with that umbrella. Hi, Sarah.
A little bit, Andrew. We're doing our best out here. I wish I could tell you that the conditions are going to improve by the time this thing kicks off, but they are actually expected to worsen. It is going to be rainy. It is going to be windy. It is going to be a mess. And I know you were talking about different playoff scenarios. You mentioned the Bills. Here's the easiest thing to figure out when you're talking about the Bills today. They have to win, right? I don't know that it definitely eliminates them because there's a lot of things in play, but the Bills know that their margin of error is down to virtually nothing. They need a very big win against a Cowboys team that's got the top scoring offense, and the Bills are going to have to do it without defensive stars Micah Hyde, AJ Epinesa. They will not be out on that field to stop the Cowboys. What could potentially help the Bills is a large number of people that will not be out on the field. Josh Allen made a plea to Bills Mafia this week. He said what a home crowd can do to an opposing team's offense is what we need. And Andrew, it's not far-fetched to think that Bills Mafia will show up in full effect because this is a Bills team that has not been home in almost a month now, Andrew, and they got some momentum. They're coming off that win at Arrowhead Stadium last week against the Chiefs.
And the Cowboys have some momentum as well. They've won 5 in a row.
Yes. I tell you what, first off, Sarah, I want to see how Dallas does the here we go cadence on a silent count. That would be very interesting.
You want to try?
Mafia. No, I don't want to. Maybe DK Metcalf can help us out with that. But the Cowboys defense, this is the key for me because they've got so many key players in that secondary. Their depth just seems to come in droves. And it seems like they've got the players that can slow down this Buffalo Bills passing game at the tight end spot where they've got all those slot corners and slot safeties and the corners. We saw what Stephon Gilmore was able to do against A.J. Brown and the Eagles last week. So, again, the depth and the talent that they have in the secondary, that is going to be a huge challenge for the Bills passing game. But this is where Josh Allen, they're probably going to have to do some scheduled runs. We saw last week with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles with their scheduled runs, they had some success. This is something Buffalo cannot shy away from, especially in these weather conditions that Sarah was just telling us about.
One of the things that I'm curious how they're going to defend is CeeDee Lamb, who is the most productive receiver in the slot. This is the second year running that we can say that. When you have all of the missing pieces along the spine of that defense, and now you're adding Micah Hyde and AJ Epinesa to the list, it's going to be very difficult to contain him. So then are you putting extra safety help, extra linebacker help, what are you doing? And then does that leave the number 2 receiver open? That could be like a good thing for Brandon Cooks and potentially any tight end that they want to throw to, because just when we think it's one, it's going to be the other one. But ultimately, CeeDee Lamb's impact on this game in the weather, that's going to be something that I think pretty much decides this one, because I think the Bills' offense will come to play, and they are not missing as many pieces, but I don't know, they're going to have to do it with just as good as Sarah does, holding that umbrella and not floating away.
I'm just hoping there's no wind gusts that come and whisker away.
Navigating the umbrella really well.
Yeah. I'm actually not doing very well with that, so let's not hope that for anybody's sake. I just want to go back to something Steve said about Stephon Gilmore. He's somebody we've been keeping an eye on. There's been a rash of illnesses for the Cowboys that they have been battling. Gilmore is one of those guys. He is questionable. He hasn't practiced all week, so he's one of those guys that has been battling some type of bug, so that's something to keep an eye out on. And then, the other thing, there's been so much talk about Dak Prescott for MVP and his numbers and this Cowboys offense. They've been incredible, and the one knock on him has been how this Cowboys team has been on the road. Now, granted, there's a lot of teams out there, I say this, that would love to have just 3 losses on the season, right? There's so many teams would trade places with the Cowboys, but all 3 of those losses for the Cowboys have been on the road. Dak's passer rating goes from 123 at home to 89 on the road. And if you come into this environment, a Bills team backs up against the wall here in Orchard Park, and if the Cowboys come in here and continue to keep rolling, I think that narrative will certainly be quieted today if Dak Prescott can pull that off.
Absolutely. Dak Prescott has the most touchdown passes in the NFL. Josh Allen, the most total touchdowns. But to your point, different animal on the road where the Cowboys are 3-3. Huge game coming up. Stay dry. Thank you. Sarah Walsh live in Orchard Park. That is in the late window and the early window. Patrick Mahomes is on the field. We will take you to Foxborough coming up next. Do the Chiefs finally end their 2-game losing streak? You can follow that game and all the other games on Game Center on the NFL channel coming up next. Bye, Cynthia. Thank you, Cynthia. Back to Game Day morning for Cynthia. You're watching NFL Game Day Preview. You are looking at a quarterback whose team has lost 2 games in a row for the first time in 2 years. That is Patrick Mahomes. They are in Foxborough today at 8-3 as the number 3 seed in the AFC, taking on the 2. Not the 2 seed, but the team right now that holds the number 2 overall pick in next year's draft. With that in mind, and with weather potentially messing things up today, we go live here to James Palmer on the sideline ahead of a Patriots-Chiefs game that, you know, a couple of months ago looked fantastic. Now James has kind of a different feel.
It does have a different feel, and I know we're focused really on one team in this game, so let's just get to the Kansas City Chiefs. The other one is eliminated from postseason contention, and really what the Chiefs are trying to do is get back on track, right, Andrew? And what we look for in this game is going against a Patriots defense led by Bill Belichick that we know his staple is to always take away what you do best, right? So you would expect he takes away Travis Kelce. What else do they do well? Well, that's Isaiah Pacheco. He's out again. So who steps up in that role that really plays alongside Travis Kelce? I talked to some players, and they all said the same guy. Rookie Rashee Rice, the wide receiver. I was actually talking to Jerick McKinnon yesterday, and he told me, really, I look at Juju Smith-Schuster a season ago when there was so much attention to Travis. If we execute correctly, Juju was the guy who thrived in that spot. In his mind, it could be Rashee Rice that slides into that. The last 3 games, he's targeted more than any other player on this team, averaging 81 yards a game. There's an added trust and chemistry between him and Patrick Mahomes of late. Maybe they're finding it out a little late, but finding a complement to Travis Kelce in the passing game is something they feel like they're headed towards and obviously need down the stretch.
Yeah, JP, that's a good point. You talk about Rashee Rice being that replacement. I think especially based off of last week, it happened at the end of the game. I think Andy Reid's going to get Kadarius Toney involved in this game very early, and maybe not even so much as a receiver. Remember, Kadarius Toney can play that running back role. He can get things on jet sweeps. It could be a way to get his head right in the game, to get this offense in a rhythm, and to also settle down some of those offensive penalties. JP, we keep talking about it all the time on our show, the NFL Report. The penalties, they have got to knock those out if they want to be successful.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest issues they've had, right? And players have told me there's really no panic in that locker room at all because they've fixed mistakes down the stretch before. And when I talked to members of this coaching staff, I did this morning. It was self-inflicted wounds we feel like are maybe some of the easiest things you can correct. Now, it's easy for us to all say this because these have happened throughout the entire season. They've been able to get away with it a little bit because they've had a defense that has played, Steve, extremely well. I'll give you one player to really watch in this game because we know the Patriots want to run the football consistently. We know the Chiefs have gotten behind early in games, and they want to make sure that doesn't happen because middle linebacker Nick Bolton is playing in this game, one of the best linebackers in football, but I am told he is extremely banged up. He is battling through a variety of injuries, so you guys know if the Patriots want to continue to pound the football, he's a player you're going to have to watch, and also 2 dynamic tight ends, so his value and his health in this game actually might be very important to slowing down a Patriots team if this game is close.
So it's the first time these 2 teams have met in the 1 o'clock window since 2008. This had been a Monday night game. It got flexed out of Monday. Also flexing today, James Palmer with the double-breasted, like, upholstery and a lovely, lovely.
Is that Tom Ford, JP? Looking very Tom Ford.
I won't tell you, Steve.
James Palmer, everybody, flexing in a game that got flexed out. Thank you, James. This game is not moving. This game is part of a holiday classic celebration. Coming up Christmas Eve, gather the family by the fire, wrap the presents, wait for Santa, and watch the Patriots and the Broncos on NFL Network and on NFL Plus coming up Christmas Eve, which is, oh, by the way, next Sunday.
Oh, my gosh.
If you did
already
not know that. Yes, sir. That is Tyreek Hill, kids. He tried early to get loose. He tried to get ready. Remember the ankle injury when last we saw the Dolphins on Monday night. Short week, quick turnaround. He did come back in the game on Monday, but he is somewhat surprisingly inactive today. The guy that was watching for us on the sideline, that Tyreek Hill warm-up, before they said he was inactive, live with us now on NFL Game Day Preview. That is Cam Wolf. Cam, we thought he looked good. Eventually, they decided not today.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, I was on watch all morning. He was showing great body language, gave people a thumbs up, ran routes, and looked pretty much like himself. He was looking deliberately at that ankle as he made cuts, but ultimately, he and the team chose the cautious route. They have a stretch playoff run they have to play, and they decided to sit him out in this game. And it definitely was a surprise to some people I talked to, but ultimately, the Dolphins offense will have to move on without Tyreek for the first time since he's been traded there. He's never missed a game. And so the onus goes on Jalen Waddle, their other top receiver. He's on pace for his third straight 1,000-yard season, quietly, but he has a chance to show that he's a true number one by stepping up today. Tua Tagovailoa said if Reek doesn't play, Jalen knows his role increases, and he's also looking forward to see who special and the other receiver group also steps up. One thing to note, I just talked to Jets cornerback coach Tony Oden a few minutes ago. I talked to him about Tyreek being out. He said that doesn't change our game plan at all. We want to be physical against this Dolphins defense and see if they can manage. And one other thing he told them, don't let the offense, the Jets offense, impact how you play D. Stay standard, don't take unnecessary risks. The plays will come to you. And so the Jets defense think they learned some things from the Titans playing the Dolphins offense and pulling that upset last week.
So that last little bit Cam said right there, they learned some things about what the Titans did to that Dolphins offense. Physicality, it is punching them in the mouth. Teams like the Dolphins, if we've seen it over and over, when they have got to play big men up front who love to play smash mouth, reset the line of scrimmage, that's an issue. And we know with all those big guys, Quinton Williams and those guys for the Jets, and the Dolphins have a banged-up offensive line, this is an issue. The Dolphins' offense functions off of the run action, and if they can stall that run action, and you heard Cam talk about this doesn't change what they want to do, they're going to actually make Tua beat them with his arm. That sounds like it's a crazy thing to do, but that's what they're going to do. So, Cam, and you know this, and let's go back to that part as I send it back to you. The physicality up front, all of the Dolphins' losses this year have happened the same way, and the Jets have the potential to do that defensively.
Absolutely. And, Steve, the Dolphins have heard that narrative, too, that they lack the physicality to be with those top teams. And so expect them to try to exert their physicality early. Raheem Mostert told Mike McDaniel that he's going to be in his ear about them running the ball. They lead the NFL in yards per carry with their 13th and rushing attempts. And so I'm told there will be a dedication to getting Raheem and to a lesser extent Devon Achane the ball early and often. And in fact, I talked to Jets linebacker C.J. Mosley this week. He said their number one focus going into this week actually wasn't Tyreek Hill. It was stopping Raheem Mostert and Achane. He said they went off for 166 yards against us against Black Friday. We know their run game makes them diverse. And so if they can't be a run-first team, we feel pretty good about them against our passing attack. And so we'll see in the first quarter if the Dolphins can establish their physicality in the run game. They do have Teron Armstead, Liam Eichenberg, and Austin Jackson all playing today. We'll see if they last the game.
On that banged-up offensive line, Dolphins here going for the sweep of the Jets. As you mentioned, they beat them on Black Friday in New York. Raheem Mostert does lead the NFL in touchdowns, and the Dolphins still win out, and they get the 1 seed in home field advantage. Thank you, Cam Wolf, because in a couple of weeks, the Dolphins play the Ravens.
From the first snap to the last snap, all we got is all we need, baby. Let's go. Trevor puts it on the money. What a throw. He stays on his feet and ends the game.
The Ravens with the top spot in the AFC playoff race.
The Jags lead in the AFC South. How good is that?
You're watching NFL Game Day preview, throwing up the AFC playoff picture here. The Ravens are 10-3. They're the 1 seed. They're in Jacksonville this evening, the Sunday night game on NBC. I mentioned the Dolphins. They get the Cowboys in Miami next week. That game's huge. And then at Baltimore on New Year's Eve day. So basically, either of those teams, the Ravens or the Dolphins, can win out, Steve White, and they can win the 1 seed here. And the Ravens can get in tonight by winning in Jacksonville. Win and in for Lamar Jackson and Odell Beckham Jr. and the Baltimore Ravens. They're facing a Jaguars team here on a short week. A Jaguars team that was stunned on Monday night.
Look, they've gotten gashed by Joe Flacco and Jake Browning, both of those quarterbacks, backups, throwing for more than 300 yards against the Jaguars. Oh, look, here comes another AFC North team with the best quarterback in that division. this is where the Jags defense, look at the big play. We've seen them getting tagged big play after big play. And you talk about big play receivers, Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham. We have seen Nelson Aguilar for the Ravens have big plays. They have got to figure out what they are doing, especially outside of the numbers, to slow down this Ravens defense. This is a huge game for the Jaguars. As we mentioned earlier in the show, the Colts have caught up to them. Now, the Jags have the tiebreaker over them record-wise when it comes to playoffs right now. They could fall out of first place in the division very soon if they do not have a big effort in a home game today against a dangerous football team that has the weapons that should exploit that Jaguars defense.
To clarify here, that Jaguars loss to the Browns was a Sunday game, talking about the Monday game two weeks ago, obviously, when they faced Jake Browning of the Bengals, and Browning threw for 354, and then we've seen it now continue for Jake Browning. Doug Peterson asked this week, we got a young team. He's like, well, no more excuses about having a young team.
Good for him.
Time for the Jaguars to get going tonight against the Baltimore Ravens as we keep it going here on NFL Game Day Preview. Coming up next, Adam Rank is sliding in here with your fantasy advice. Playoff time. Should Tua be in your lineup? The answer may surprise you. If you're watching on a mobile device, maybe you could open up another window and check out the Twitters right now, or the X's. Here's what's going on. How about the Love Ya Blues that the Titans are wearing? They have the Texans in town. Remember, they used to be the Houston Oilers. And they're dressed like the Houston Oilers with the Texans in town. And we could do a whole show on that.
Campbell never played in Tennessee.
He never played in Tennessee.
Ken Stabler.
No, but the Oilers did play in Tennessee, albeit briefly before changing names. Adam Rank is here. Hi, Adam.
Hey, everybody.
With our fantasy and who you should have in and out of your lineup. Your must-start quarterback today is whom?
I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford, playing right over here at SoFi Stadium. Great matchup against the Washington Commanders. Probably, believe it or not, probably the least effective thing in Washington is the Commanders' defense, which I would have been shocked to to find out. But they've allowed, let me make sure I get these totals correct. They've allowed the second most passing touchdowns over the last 4 weeks. So just behind Philadelphia is actually the worst. Philadelphia has allowed 9 touchdown passes in the last 4 games. Little reminder for anybody who's playing a Seahawks receiver. But yeah, Matthew Stafford's the quarterback play.
Darius Slay will be out, by the way. By the way, for the Seahawks, that game is coming up tomorrow. Funny what happens when you're the Commanders and you trade away both Montez Sweat and Chase Young.
Yeah,
weird.
Weird how that works.
Must start running back today.
I'm going to go back to Ezekiel Elliott. We talked about it last week.
Ezekiel Elliott is your must-start running back.
We loved him last week.
It's playoff time.
But you know what the thing is? It's the volume and the ability. Who else on that team is going to get the football?
Stevenson's out.
That's the big thing. And that's what we've liked over the last couple of weeks. He had 29 touches last week, his highest total since 2017, something crazy like that. But you know they're going to want to run the football against this Kansas City Chiefs team. Some teams have had some success doing it. So, again, it's the fantasy playoffs. This is what's happening. We're going with Ezekiel Elliott.
Juju is also Juju Smith-Schuster out for the Patriots. Your must-start wide receiver today obviously won't be Juju. It is?
We're going to go with DJ Moore in the game against the Cleveland Browns. Obviously a great team, but we've seen that whenever he plays a full game with Justin Fields, he is out there scoring 20-plus fantasy points. So we love DJ Moore in this one. I expect them to have a better game plan than they had against Minnesota a couple of weeks ago when they're going up against Brian Flores. I think they'll stretch the field a little bit more. Also, with Tyreek Hill out, you know, some names to look at. Jaden Reed, OBJ, Rashid Shaheed. If you're scrambling right now,
Chris Olave's
out as well. So Rashid Shaheed might even be available on your waiver wire. A lot of people probably dropped him when he was injured a couple of weeks ago. That is something, if you're in a desperation move, you can go out and do that.
When we were going to break, we teased Tua Tagovailoa, and I said the answer may surprise you. He is the quarterback that you want on the bench
not want to start him
today. It's the fantasy playoffs.
I didn't like it. I didn't like this coming into it. Like, he's struggled over the last couple of weeks. He has not put up the fantasy points that you would expect, especially last week, going up against a Titans team that has struggled against quarterbacks. This is where they're vulnerable, is through the air, but they went out there and they handled him. Now, without Tyreek Hill, I want nothing to do with this, although I do think that you can play Raheem Mostert and you can also play Achane.
Interesting. You get to the playoffs and you bench Tua Tagovailoa. All right, stay there. Let's do Who Scores.
Oh,
okay. Who Scores is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's do a same-game parlay available on DraftKings. We got the Giants and the Saints in the spotlight here. A couple of touchdowns, Tommy DeVito and Alvin Kamara. We got Taysom Hill getting involved as well in the run game. The parlay calls for a passing touchdown from Tommy DeVito. You think, however, he might use his legs as well because we're doing Who Scores.
Yeah.
Okay, Who Scores for Giants Saints.
You know what? I'm going to go with Tommy DeVito in this one. He's more athletic than people are giving him credit for. He had 71 rushing yards in Week 14. The Saints have allowed the second most rushing yards to quarterbacks this season, and Tommy DeVito has put up 17-plus fantasy points in 2 out of his last 3 games. I think he runs one in. I think that's a saucy little pick today.
Saucy like marinara.
Like marinara.
Like a marinara. Okay, Who Scores? Let's do the game that we were talking about earlier in Nashville. How about Mike Vrabel showing up dressed like Bum Phillips today? Mike Vrabel has already scored. Who scores on the field during the game?
I thought he was dressed as John Brennan from Real World Los Angeles. But you know what? I guess wait. No, Bum Phillips makes more sense. I'm going to say that Noah Brown is a guy that gets into the end zone this week. I like this Houston passing attack, even with Case Keenum calling the shots. Listen, as a Stanford mark, I was kind of hoping for Davis Mills, but Case Keenum's also a very capable quarterback. He's going up against a team with the Titans, who I just talked about a moment ago, who've been very vulnerable against the pass. They've allowed 4 passing touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. They were really good against Tua last week, but I think Noah Brown gets into the end zone.
Okay, Noah Brown is the one for that game in Tennessee. How about the game in Carolina for Falcons-Panthers? Who scores there?
Oh, it's so hard to trust a Falcons player, but I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson. I think this is a pretty good opportunity. Even though the Carolina Panthers have been much better in the run defense over the last couple of weeks, they've still allowed 4 rushing touchdowns over the last 4 games. And you know what? I know Arthur Smith loves to tease us, loves to make life miserable for us, but I think Bijan Robinson's the way to go. You know, the last time Drake London played it, because I was looking at Drake London, but the last time they played the Carolina Panthers, he had 1 target, no receptions. I know he's coming off a monster game where he had 12 receptions last week. So I like Drake London as a straight fantasy play. But I think as far as touchdowns go, it's got to be Bijan Robinson.
Drake London had a $170 last week. But we're going here with Bijan. Thank you, Adam Rank. With Who Scores? And don't forget DraftKings Sportsbook this season. New customers can bet $5 and pocket $1.50, $150 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Download the app and use the promo code GAME when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Can the Packers and Jordan Love find their way into the postseason? Coming up, we are live at Lambeau as Green Bay gets ready for a huge game in the NFC race. Straight ahead. NFL Game Day preview on the NFL channel. How about that? There's a sight for sore eyes in Green Bay. Aaron Jones is up and active and back today. Now, there is still a long list of injuries for the Packers as they get ready for a huge game with the Bucs. But Jones is not on that list. Hey, Stacey Dales.
Guys, we have lots of injuries to track today, but key ones for the Packers in their offensive backfield. Aaron Jones finally back, having missed the last 3 games with that knee injury. He's going to play. We'll see how much he can play because he's missed 6 games total this year. A.J. Dillon, unfortunately, with that fracture to his right thumb, he's going to be out of this one for the Packers. And for them, their quarterback, Jordan Love's got to bounce back. He had another interception last week. In their 7 losses, Love has now 10 interceptions. He cited mechanics as the issue. He's really gone back to the fundamentals, working on that footwork, a better balance in his base in the pocket, and not as choppy with his drop back. So that's been a big focus for him. By the way, the other quarterback, Baker Mayfield, I just spoke to him. He's loving this weather in Green Bay. He's 0-2 here at Lambeau in his career, hoping to reverse that trend today. Both teams critical must win as they move forward in the NFC race.
It's a huge game here for both teams as we tee up one big question by showing you first the NFC playoff picture. As mentioned, Niners are in, they win today, and they win the West. The Buccaneers at 6-7 hold the tiebreakers in that mess in the NFC South, and right now they are the 4 seed. The Packers would be in. This is a potential playoff matchup right now as the 7 seed, but they have to keep on winning. Green Bay coming up after this one at Carolina, at Minnesota, and Chicago. So the one big question, can Jordan Love, Adam Rank push the Packers to the playoffs?
Man, I don't know. This is the thing. I love the schedule that you just talked about there. Like, a lot of winnable games for them up until Week 18, where they will face their toughest test. But I think there's a lot of winnable games. And I know Jordan Love has been relying on some of the... There they are. Look at the Bears. This, again, I know
that game's going to mean something.
The Bears came into this season trying to emulate what the Lions did last year, where they won 9 games, eliminated the Packers in Week 18. The Bears are setting themselves up for that. But for the Packers to be successful, I think it comes down to more guys like Jaden Reed. I really like what he's done. He's had a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games. He had 10 targets last week's game as well. And now he's got a really good matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who struggled against slot receivers. Plus, he can do a lot of things out of the backfield. I know that Aaron Jones is back and healthy and ready to go, but I think that you can give the ball to Reed as a runner. I know they fancy themselves like their version of Debo, which is like, pull back the brakes a little bit, Green Bay, but that's the way they like to use them.
Yeah, Jaden Reed leads the Packers in rushing touchdowns. He's a rookie wide receiver. We have not seen that in a long, long time. All right, 6-7 on that playoff bracket. The Los Angeles Rams coming off a tough loss last week, Steve Wyche, in Baltimore, blocking the back on that Tylan Wallace punt return. Coulda, shoulda beaten the Ravens. Are they, let me read it off the screen here, the most dangerous 6-7 team in the NFC? They get the Commanders over here today.
Yeah, let's not complicate this, yes. And it's very simple as the reason why is Matthew Stafford is their quarterback. You just heard Stacey Dales talking about some of the inconsistencies Jordan Love is having with the Packers. Look at the other 6-7 quarterbacks. Desmond Ridder, Geno Smith, Derek Carr. Yes, Matthew Stafford, because he's playing fantastic this year when you watch him play, going through the series of receivers that he has. So look at that. It's the quarterback. The Rams are the best 6-7 threat.
Rams and the Commanders coming up. It's one of the 3 late window 4 p.m. Eastern time games. That game right here at Soldier Field. The 49ers get the Rams Week 18. By that point, the Niners might be the 1 seed. I mean, who knows? Unlikely, but I can tell you this. The Niners can win the West today with a victory over the Cardinals or a Rams loss to the Commanders. It's either the Niners, the Eagles, or the Cowboys, really, that will get the 1 seed. Rank who needs it the most.
Who needs it the most? I think, really, the Philadelphia Eagles need that 1 seed the most. Like, I have a lot of confidence in San Francisco playing in that first weekend, playing host to the Green Bay Packers and beating them by 40. But I think with the health of Jalen Hurts and everything that's going on with them over the last couple of weeks, Philadelphia really needs to win. They really need that off week, where the other 2 teams, I think, can probably pretty much survive and probably thrive playing in there.
Jalen Hurts, an illness concern for Monday. We don't know if he can't go. It's Marcus Mariota. Darius Slay is out. And then how about this? Since we have come on the air today, Ian Rappaport says that the Eagles and their DC in his first year, former Seahawk assistant, Sean Desai, is moving upstairs on Monday night. And former Lions head coach Matt Patricia will be calling the defense on Monday.
Yeah, I think they actually went against each other. I think Sean Desai was the DC for the Bears.
The Bears, and then
Patricia was coaching
Denver.
With. I mean, that's interesting news. The way Ian's reporting it, I don't know if Desai is just calling it down to Patricia, and he's calling the signals into the green dot. We see that a lot of times with coordinators going to a position coach. Or if Patricia has taken over the defense. I mean, that's a big turn right there. But I also want to get back to which team needs home field. The Detroit Lions. You forgot to mention them. They need home field.
They are in the conversation.
They are in the conversation. And if they get to play at Ford Field, as we saw last night, they're a different football team. They're a dome team. I don't think they're a team, if they go on the road to Philly or San Francisco, could fare as well as if those teams when they're on the road. But Detroit, if they get home field, they're a dangerous team. We saw that last night, the way they put it on Denver, and if they got their mojo back, they needed to. If they continue that through the rest of the season, they're going to be a problem going through the playoffs.
Apologies to Lions fans. I'm sorry?
Jared Goff's an indoor cat.
He
You can't let him outside.
An indoor lion.
Yes.
That kind of cat. Jared Goff looked amazing last night, and the Lions looked amazing. Apologies, Lions fans, getting your 10th win last night, and maybe sleeping in through this show, hopefully. You missed the unintentional slight. Joe Flacco, ladies and gentlemen, in a downpour in Cleveland. I mean, how else would you rather spend your Sunday, 8 days out from Christmas? We're showing you the Browns and the Bears straight ahead. NFL Game Day preview. Here's the AFC playoff picture after the games on Saturday. Of note here, the Bengals won, the Colts won, so they are now the 6 and the 7 seed behind the Browns, who are the 5 seed and at 8-5, and trying to keep a leg up by getting their 9th win here today. They are in rainy Cleveland. They are at home facing a pretty good Bears team, a Bears team that is playing well of late and well rested here as well. But Joe Flacco is at the helm now. Whites for the Browns.
Yeah, the Bears are playing really good on defense. But, I mean, Joe Flacco has opened up their offense. I spoke to a coach who said he's allowed us to do that. And a target today I am looking for is tight end David Njoku. He's coming off of that big game last week where he had 2 touchdowns. You're watching one of them right here. But him and Flacco seem to have a connection. And you look at the Bears, their strengths, especially in the secondary, are at their corners. So Njoku on the inside target could be big in this game for the Browns.
Yeah, this really is a big game. And I think back to the last time Justin Fields was starting in Cleveland. Matt Nagy just didn't seem to have a clue of what to do. He was sacked 9 times.
First career start.
First career start. It was pure negligence, and I think it's one of the reasons why Matt Nagy was eventually let go at the end of the season. This is a big opportunity for Justin Fields. I know there's still some questions surrounding him, head coach Matt Eberflus, offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. This is a real good opportunity. Some meaningful football in December for the first time in a long time. and this is up to the Bears to go and take advantage of it.
Myles Garrett had 4.5 of the 9 sacks in that game. Myles Garrett is maybe the only Cleveland defender who is actually healthy today, and he's playing with a shoulder injury from a month ago. All the pieces are in pieces on the defensive side of the ball. You mentioned Matt Nagy last year, an assistant. Well, no, not last year. Now still an assistant with the Kansas City Chiefs, and that man, Andy Reid. They have lost 2 in a row. Is it going to be 3 today? They're about to kick in Foxborough.
Here they come again. There's a flag down at the line of scrimmage as the pass is to an open Travis Kelce, who flings it back over to Tony. My goodness, this is going for a touchdown.
Offside, number 19, offense, lined up in the neutral zone.
Wow.
5-yard penalty. Second down.
What is going on here with Mahomes?
I just said the frustration is growing.
Hey, look how this is here, man. What do you think? Wildest call I've ever seen, dude. Well, offensive offsides in that come.
I regret acting like that, but more than anything, I mean, I regretted the way I acted towards Josh after the game because he had nothing to do with it, and so I was still hot and emotional. But you can't do that, man. It's not a great example for kids watching the games.
All right, so Mahomes apologized, and Andy Reid walked it back a little bit. Steve White's Young Joka, the stage name when he's a rapper for Kadarius Toney, didn't walk it back at all, blamed the ref.
Yeah, that wasn't a good look by Kadarius Toney, which is why I think Andy Reid's going to get him involved today. Get him involved, see where his head is. And if you get Kadarius Toney involved, it opens up their offense because he is an explosive player. I mean, they've got to get their offense going. James Palmer earlier in talking about this game said the Chiefs, there's no panic. They feel that these are correctable issues. They have had 13 weeks or so to correct these issues, and they're still raising their head. They've got to do this against a Patriots team that can't score, but a defense that can keep them out of the end zone.
Well, you were talking about that conversation you had with Jimmy Palmer, and the player he brought up was Rashee Rice.
Right.
That's the guy that they've been relying on over the last couple of weeks. 9+ targets, 7+ receptions in each of the last 3 games. He's really come on, and this is, again, going back to missing Juju Smith-Schuster. Nobody has really stepped up into that role until the last couple of weeks with Rashee Rice, and I think they really need to lean into it, similar to the way the Texans were leaning on Tank Dell. Like, you can rely on these rookie wide receivers, especially when you have Travis Kelce out there commanding a lot of attention.
Travis Kelce, who did not make it to Taylor Swift's birthday party on Wednesday. Entertainment Tonight, the party was in New York, reported they're still fine, by the way. No reason to be concerned. He was focusing on his work. Yes, Wednesday's a practice day. He lives in Kansas City, people. Was this really news?
But they've got to explain that to the people who don't follow football.
Kevin Frazier was a sports guy.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
He should know. Like, is he not in the newsroom? Being like, listen, now
he's talking to people who don't follow sports. Frazier's a good friend of mine.
Kevin's
I'm a fan.
We like Kevin.
I'm a fan.
Like
I'm not
Kevin.
saying I'm not besmirching him, but I'm saying he's the guy.
And when I did besmirch Kadarius Toney earlier, I was not making up the whole rap thing. He's got. No. Go check out his SoundCloud, Young Joka. Maybe not my cup of tea, but yeah.
I'm more old school.
He didn't apologize. He blamed the ref. He made his midweek statement. We now make Sunday statements.
Young Joka.
Adam Rank, make a Sunday statement, a bold prediction, if you will.
I'm going to say that the New England Patriots continue to frustrate the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't like the attitude that you were talking about this a moment ago. I don't like their nonchalantness of this. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes, like Josh Allen has had to wear it like so many times to you. And then he finally gets a moment of glory, and you got to go up there and talk about the refs. That does not sit well with me. I think that there's a lot of problems with this Kansas City Chiefs team, and we just kind of ignore it and gloss over it like, oh, it's the Chiefs. Like, no. You got to stop that kind of thinking. And I think this is a really big chance for the New England Patriots to go out there and make a statement of themselves.
Well, my Sunday statement, we're going to go down to that Ravens-Jags game. And even though I think it's going to be a tough sledding for the Jags tight end, Evan Ingram is going to get into the end zone for the third consecutive game after not having a touchdown all the way through week 13.
All right, that's bold.
Single it up.
This might be bold as well. We're going to go from there, from 5 to 1. The New York Giants are not eliminated. Nope. As he checks the record, they're 5-8. They're 4-4 in conference. They have the tiebreaker over the Bears on conference record.
Dang it.
The New York Giants are going to win today. They're going to win their 4th in a row behind Tommy DeVito, baby. Get to know him, get to love him. Not only him, his entire family, and his agent.
We don't have
the entourage, the whole entourage, yeah.
The entire entourage.
They're in our faces.
We are riding the Tommy DeVito hype train all the way to a 4th consecutive win. He might have left Syracuse. He might have finished at Illinois. We are claiming him as an Orange. No, an Orange man. He's an Orange man. Tommy DeVito is going to win.
I love it. You know what? But they're a game off the pace. I mean, like the
they
Packers are
They're in it.
7 seed. It's 6 and 7.
They're legitimately in it. I mean, they're going to have the #1 pick from the Carolina Panthers, but they are actually still in it, and so are the Packers. They're about to kick it, a huge game of the NFC with the South leading Bucks in town. They're about to kick in Miami as well. Follow all the games on Game Center right here on the NFL channel. For Rank, for Cynthia, for Weich, my name is Andrew. Enjoy Week 15. Hey, Robbie's on the field.
I love Kevin Frazier.